This is a video of a different kind. As you can tell, I do not have my trademark hat. So, you've not been seeing me because of a variety of factors. Alright, let me go through them a few at a time. First, around April the 26th, I had been dealing with, for a little bit before that time period, edema. So, we didn't know, because I'm on my 7th portacath and I use ZAP therapy to deal with nausea and vomiting issues, as most of the chronic community that deals with motility disorders like Chronic-Intestinal-Pseudo-Obstruction, Colonic-Inertia, gastroparesis, in my case, with POTS and Mitochondrial-Malabsorption, which was idiopathic gastroparesis, but because of the mito, that was the source of my issues. So, with all that said, the edema that was occurring and coming in and out, I needed to rule out heart issues. So in the process of doing that, getting a cardio stress test, echogram, and finding those answers, there was what can be best classified as miscommunication. So, in this miscommunication, I had an interruption in my ZAP therapy, which is not a good thing for me, because in the midst of arriving at ZAP therapy, a lot of things had been tried and taken off the table and addressed, because I have had to have a colectomy done with a direct resection, where I have about 7 inches of colon without a, I do not have to wear a bag. They were able to resection. I've had obstructions because of chronic intestinal obstruction, so I've actually had 2 obstructions that had to be surgically corrected in the past, last one being 2015. But the ZAP therapy with the Zofran and Phenergan and hydration fluids keeps me out of the emergency room. So, but we had to know that there wasn't any heart issues. And thank you, Jesus, May 16th, cardiac stress test was done, the echogram. June 8th, I found out it wasn't. But in the midst of this miscommunication, I did not know that when the doctor that ordered the ZAP therapy wanted to discontinue, this created a problem. I had enough IV Zofran to cover the situation, but I started throwing up. And when I requested, what do I need to do, because at this point I didn't have my cardiac stress test results yet, I was told go to my PCP. When I presented at PCP, I was a mess. And he decided the best for my health and not to jeopardize me further, to go ahead and do my Phenergan. Thank you, Jesus. So, I did not realize, because I had not been told, that this was going against what had been requested, not communicated to me. Now remember, miscommunication. I would not find out that this was a request that had been told to be told to me, because I'm, in the meantime, trying to get an appointment in so that I feel like I can speak to my doctor one-on-one, which never actually occurred. I haven't had an appointment on June the 20th. June 19th was the earliest I found out that I didn't have an appointment. Imagine my surprise. And then his nurse was out and didn't come back in until the 21st. And as I tried to start understanding what is, like, a whole mess had fallen apart, And that's when I find out that I was supposed to be off of my ZAP therapy for 3 months because it was being looked at as that it was a short-term therapy, but it wasn't a short-term therapy for me because it had been what had kept me actually alive. And more than one doctor told me that I was actually living longer than expected. One term, which I've shared with many of y'all, is I was past my expiration date. I was told I was in my last stages in 2006. We're in 2018. So, now, unbeknownst to me, this is all occurring, and in the background, I've got my cardiologist saying I don't need to jeopardize my health because I've got an all clear. I definitely need to do my antiemetics IV, definitely need my hydration fluids because my organ systems are fragile. I don't need to rock the boat on any of that. My PCP is taking the same viewpoint. Palliative care is taking the same viewpoint. So when I'm told on the 21st of June this whole scenario and nothing's making any sense at all, and I have very few spoons to advocate for myself. So, thank you, Jesus. I have palliative care. And now I wait to find a gastroenterologist that decides that I'm not too much trouble because I fought very hard to maintain my mental stability, my emotional stability, my spiritual space, my physical, because every one of us, even though we might have the same diagnosis, we walk a separate walk. And what's good for one may not be good for another. But with all of my diagnoses that I have, and the walk that I've had to walk, the other piece of this little puzzle is when I met with a cardiologist and the follow-up, the edema, and she had all the pieces that had been given over the years, and she was able to pinpoint that was something that was very clear, but you had to have all your pieces, that the protein deficiency and a protein deficiency with malnutrition would have triggered the edema in the way that I was having it. And it did make perfect sense, but you needed all the pieces to come to that conclusion, because I didn't have just edema in my legs, it was traveling all over. And then it wouldn't be edema that would be building as you were on your feet. I would wake up and the edema was there. It wouldn't be there like edema, like swelling, retaining fluid after, say, IV fluids. Not necessarily. So see, truly, all the pieces had to be put together, boxes had to be checked, things had to be eliminated for you to begin to see what was where. When you have multiple diagnoses and issues, it's like truly putting things together to solve a problem. But you have to have doctors that are willing to hang in there with you and not give up. And you most certainly have to make sure that you advocate for yourself and you don't give up on yourself either. So, it's taken me a minute to get myself together because we can't fight for ourselves or anyone else until we make sure that we keep all our spoons back in reserve, and you don't step out until you get yourself together. And you can't give to others when you don't have enough in your reserve tank or in your reservoir. So it is with much love and prayers and apologies if I stressed anybody else out, but I couldn't have done it any other way than how I've done it. So, love, prayers, and may each of you be blessed. Because my wish is for every single one of you to have the strength to advocate for yourselves and for others, and for you to know that you are valued, you are cherished, you're loved, you're a one-of-a-kind, special person. We each are. Much love.